What's the fastest you've seen a crowd go from excited to horrified? I was at a Bo Burnham show he was recording for his Netflix special, but unfortunately this part didn't make the cut. He was cracking jokes as usual, then asked everyone in the audience to crack their knuckles on the count of 3. It was the most horrifying evil sound any of us had ever heard. I was at a Russell Peters stand-up show in a large theater. He starts some banter with the guy in the first row, who had a huge tattoo on his arm saying Skylar, or similar name. He asks all about Skylar. It's the guy's daughter. He starts making jokes about daughters, some sexual innuendos etc., and then asks how old Skylar is. The guy in the audience goes, "She passed away." It was pure crickets after that. Budweiser's press conference that turned into a filmed suicide. I, along with an entire beachfront of about 80 people, watched a boat back up and chop a lady up into pieces. It was bad. An American comedian in the Republic of Ireland saying how happy he was to be in the United Kingdom. Woodstock 99. Everyone was super cool and chill, and all of a sudden it felt like the winds shifted. It was palpable. Like you could cut the air, it was so heavy. Got a super bad vibe, so we packed up immediately and left. By the time we got to the first gas station, reports of fire and rioting started. I was brought to corrida once, and the matador got his leg impaled by the bull while he was trying to get over a fence. The crowd started screaming and booing the bull like it was a foul move. I was like, Mayo the Jew ducking stabbed it. What was it supposed to do? Recite poetry? Last week at a BLM protest they were letting anyone come up and speak through a megaphone. This man got up and started talking about his newborn son and how he wanted to make sure we have a better world for him. He then started talking about love and unity, and the guy essentially had the crowd eating out of the palm of his hand. Then he brought up Bill Cosby and how he was arrested on allegations, and the crowd turned instantly. The entire assembled students from the elementary school where teacher/astronaut Krista McAuliffe taught at, who were broadcast Live to the World, as they watched the Space Shuttle Challenge explode seconds after takeoff, killing all hands on board, including their teacher. There was a guy performing risky stunt dives in a river for money. He pulled off great stuff and people were clapping and clearly hyped. One of the tricks went really bad, and he crashed headfirst into a rock from a decent height and killed himself. Detroit Tigers almost perfect game. We all saw the play and the dude was out. We all start celebrating. Then we slowly realize the ump called him safe. Celebration quickly turned to the opposite. Technically not horrified, but still the fastest 180 I've seen, or been a part of. I was at a Van Halen concert a few years back, and David Lee Roth comes on the mic and says this next one is from our new album. A friend of mine decided it would be fun to try and see if he could smash a beer glass on his head. Up until then he was just being an enthusiastic drunk and had some positive attention. He then decided the beer glass thing was a good idea and promptly executed it. Head wounds bleed a lot in the first minute. Crowd went for more. Your cute Fuwaki's gonna die. I sobered up in an instant and got a semi-clean towel for him to stop the bleeding. Thankfully head wounds also stop bleeding pretty quick in most instances. When working on a kids show, a child goes missing within the first 15 minutes of the show starting. Show had an emergency stop, so the parents could plead for the child to make himself known. Nobody was allowed to leave their seats or leave the building. Whole building had to be searched. Everyone assumed the worst, but after half an hour they resumed the show, even though the kid still had not been found. 10 minutes later we got word that the kid had wandered out of the building and was found safe and sound around the corner. To make matters worse, the show was Rapunzel. You know, where the story centers around a kidnapped child. At my friend's wedding the groom kicked the flower boy. He was no more than 10. So yeah. WWE's Over the Edge 1999. Owen Hart fell 70 feet to his death during the event, and the company inexplicably continued on with the show after he'd been taken to a hospital. May 4, 2010. It's de Denherdenking in the Netherlands, where we remember all deaths of people that died through or because of war or peaceful operations. It was called to life after WWII. At 8 o'clock, I think. We have a 2-minute silence for remembrance. One person however thought it was fun to scream bomb. I something alike. Rendering all the people there terrified and running against the barricades in a hurry to get away. The king and queen got escorted away as soon as this happened. Here is a video about the event. Diablo Immortal announcement. Challenger launch. 7 to 8 years ago during a concert there was an earthquake. Not too huge, but enough for some speakers to fall and to scare the crap out of those attending. I was at some weird zoo/animal preserve north of Phoenix in 2012. And there was a tigress in chain-linked compound. This little girl went up to her and blew her a kiss. The tigress looked at her and licked her. Her own. Not the little girl's. Whiskers. And the crowd went all. The tigress shifted a little bit and pissed all over the little girl. The crowd was shocked and horrified. But I laughed my ass off. We were all 17 to 18 on a school trip. Typical week away doing rock climbing, archery, camping etc. At the end of the trip we are gathered in a big hall for one final gathering, and then out of the blue there was a demonstration on how to effectively kill a chicken. Using a live chicken that was killed in front of us all for some reason. No warning. An animal show at Busch Gardens. The camels started ducking. Not quite horrified, but cheering to booing back to cheering in a matter of 5 minutes. I was at a music festival and a mid-tier headliner came on about 15 minutes early. Halfway through his first song, they pulled the plug on he and he is ushered off stage. Then some lady comes on stage to talk about sponsors. The entire crowd starts booing. And she walks off the stage mid-sentence. The DJ comes back on a minimum later and says, "Duck. I've never had that happen before." And the entire crowd erupts. Probably the Las Vegas shooting. The station nightclub fire. Small packed club. Great White was playing with unauthorized pyrotechnics. Suddenly caught the building on fire. Emergency exits were locked, and people jammed the exit door. 100 died. Thankfully didn't see it in person, but there is a YouTube video showing the whole thing. It is a very traumatic watch though, so wouldn't really watch it, unless you want it imprinted strong enough in your brain, so that you will always look for exits when going into a crowded area for the rest of your life. I was at a music festival in the UK, where US rapper Watsky was performing. He started to climb the rigging to the side of the stage and next thing he is about 40 feet up above the crowd singing and dancing. Everyone is going crazy. I remember turning to my friend and saying, "He's surely not going to jump from there, is he?" Because at a lot of his gigs he will do just that. Albeit from a lot smaller heights. Next thing the crazy bastard leaps into the crowd with little to no warning. Plummets to the concrete floor and hits a couple of people. Instantly the security and show staff shut everything down. Looked like he was dead, and he injured a couple of people. But everyone survived. Pink Floyd often would have giant floating pigs released during the concert. You know, inflatable balloons. This would happen like halfway through the show. Well, people are smoking tons of pot, drinking, doing God knows what other drugs. So by the time the pig is released it's basically like God descending from the heavens. People were losing their crap at the pig. Well, it got caught in one of the wires and caught on fire. You've never seen so many stoners fall to their knees in terror/fear/sorrow over the death of a giant inflatable pig. There is no God anymore. His bacon got fried. When a horse goes down hard at the races, although it splits the crowd, the compassionate ones go to horrified. The incompassionate ones with money on another horse don't give a duck. I watched the singer of a band call out somebody for sitting down during the show, and tried forcing them to stand up. It was the disabled section. St. Patrick's Day 2012. During a soccer game between Tottenham Hotspur and Bolton Wanderers, a player, Fabrice Muamba, collapsed on the pitch due to cardiac arrest. The game was televised, and I was watching it at my local pub. The pub became eerily silent. There was a weird sense of things not being good and everyone was concerned for a player we barely knew of. Football fans might be loud ruffians, but there's a lot of respect when things go wrong. Fortunately Fabrice survived and recovered, however he retired on doctors' advice. Teacher. We're watching a movie today, but you have to take notes. There was a episode of the Man Show where they went to Mardi Gras and had a girl to show her boobs. However, they also gave her very hairy boobs to fake out the crowd. The cheering on for her to show her boobs. Then the gasp as they saw how hairy she was. It took less than a second. Hard to get a clip to show. But I can't find any that were free. Exhumed concert. People were going nuts during their set until one of the band members started puking on stage. Apparently he can do it on demand. Ariana Grande's concert at Manchester Arena on the 22nd May 2017. Even still now, this event really emotionally gets me. Those poor kids. 1996 Olympics bombing in Atlanta, my hometown. When Bilbo Baggins disappeared at the end of the speech he gave at his 111th birthday party. When I was a kid we went to a baseball game in a small town. It was the beginning of the season, so they had the idea to have two guys parachuted in the middle of the field. First guy. Everything went perfect. Other guy flew over the small field. A gust of wind made him lose control, and he just went away. Too far for anyone to see him land. Parents were horrified. Kids were crying. We all thought he crashed and died. Maybe 15 minutes later we found out that he was okay. He landed in a parking lot nearby. The organization never did that again. When Beck stopped a solo show in Utrecht, because the Dutch fans would not stop talking, and kept walking up, to give him demo CDs. He just walked off stage, and said "duck you," after playing 30 seconds of Loser. Mad respect. Dutch people in concerts are the ducking worst. You can barely hear the music over them talking about their duckwit jobs and stuff. To the Dutch people reading this, shut the duck up during a concert. We are there to hear the music, not about how you and Marge bought a ducking house. I went to a Lauryn Hill concert with my friends and girlfriend when I was about 17. The show was great and everyone was enjoying themselves. Then she stopped and was talking to some members of the audience. She singled out an interracial couple in the front row and shamed them in front of the entire concert. Made a point to say just how wrong it was. My best friend was black and was there with his white girlfriend. Things got really uncomfortable after that. And I never really listened to Lauryn Hill anymore after that. Last year's Bethesda conference was pretty bad. The Pulse nightclub shooting. I remember being awake at 3 AM and seeing that come on the news. It was absolutely heartbreaking.